100% gluten-free. Boston Herald Radio.
Welcome back. This is Morning Meeting on BostonHeraldRadio.com as well as WCRN 830. 617-619-6400 is the number to call us. 617-286-5633 is the number to text us. We're excited to have Colin Reed joining us now. He wrote an op-ed in today's Boston Herald saying Liz can't occupy ticket with Hillary. Colin Reed is, of course, with America Rising. His entire job is built around working with this PAC and taking down Hillary Clinton. And this is just one of the ways that he'll just do that in the Boston Herald today. Colin, thank you for joining us.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We are good. So, last week, I wrote a column in the Boston Herald saying that I think that Elizabeth Warren would be the perfect running mate for Hillary Clinton, not because they get along, but that she has a momentum that Hillary Clinton is unable to capture, and she has the liberal lovers behind her that, frankly, Clinton has not been able to secure thus far the way Bernie Sanders has. You have 5 points you want to make in terms of why Elizabeth Warren would be the worst vice presidential pick. Go.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with what you just said. In fact, I happen to agree with you that especially the problems that Hillary Clinton has exciting younger voters or newer voters or the far-left voters, and I do think Elizabeth Warren could tap into that. But my argument is more that not so much that she wouldn't, it's just that she can't, based on some of the things that where these two people are just diametrically opposed, particularly on a lot of Elizabeth Warren's core issues. And you guys know, because you saw the race up close in 2012, a lot of the things that Elizabeth Warren was complaining about then and throwing rocks at people then are a lot of the behavior that Hillary Clinton has engaged in over the years, whether it be the army of lobbyists or the college kids drowning in debt, or whether it be Clinton's closeness to the financial services industry. These aren't just little things. Obviously during campaigns, oftentimes VPs are picked who didn't agree with the eventual nominee on everything. But these are huge, huge issues. And I think the one that's getting overlooked a lot is the fact that Elizabeth Warren essentially accused Hillary Clinton of being bought off by the credit card industry on a bankruptcy bill that has become a big point of contention of them from several years back. So these are just fundamental issues where they're at odds with one another. I don't disagree with you, Jacqueline, that Elizabeth Warren could shore up a lot of the weaknesses that she has, as she is the titular head of the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party. I just think it would show that she doesn't really believe in what she said she claims to stand for.
Isn't that all politicians? No.
Well, maybe, but these are, Elizabeth Warren ran as the outsider, the one who was going to shake things up. But this is a lot of the stuff that Hillary's done is just the total antithesis of that, and particularly the crony capitalism that Elizabeth Warren claims to despise so much. I mean, the Clintons have made a fortune, literally, using their power and their political influence to line their personal portfolios. This is stuff that Elizabeth Warren should be outraged about, and I think that's one of the reasons it's been such a struggle for her to endorse her. Is that she knows this. She knows there's clearly no love lost between the two, and she's got to try and figure out a way to do it, to get on board with the eventual nominee, which Hillary Clinton will ultimately be. But it's not an easy thing for her. It's tough waters to navigate, and that's the point I was trying to make.
So, Colin, your is it a super PAC? What kind of group is this?
Yes, we are a 527 super PAC.
Awesome. So you guys, of course, focused on Oppo for Hillary. How much have you guys done on Bill? I mean, in the last day, we talked to Phil Johnston. He said this whole story about Donald Trump in Women or whatever in the New York Times, we were talking to him about how it's almost just as toxic for Hillary, and wondering if you guys have done any work on Bill. I'm assuming this has come up.
So the good news with the Clintons is when you're doing research or looking for things to talk about, there's plenty of material to go around. And
well, now that he's running the economy, have you ramped up?
Well, this is what I will say about Bill, is since he was president, in the years that have ensued in between the time that he ran the country and now that his wife is seeking the presidency, the Democratic Party, particularly its voters, have moved very, very far to the left. And a lot of the things that Bill Clinton pushed, implemented, passed into law are now things that are deeply unpopular with the primary electorate. And those are the areas that we've tried to explore, whether it be his record on the crime bill. That's been a constant headache for Hillary Clinton. She's routinely interrupted by protesters upset at her husband for signing a crime bill in the mid-'90s that she also voiced support for, or some of his record on trade. The party has moved increasingly to the left on trade, or whether it be the Defense of Marriage Act that Bill Clinton signed into law. So that's kind of been our aim, has been to use the things that Bill Clinton did to wedge against the positions that are no longer popular with the party. And frankly, the rise of Occupy Wall Street in 2011 that Elizabeth Warren famously took credit for creating, that's been a big part of that. I think that if you look back at the course of history, that'll kind of be where the party really started shifting toward the left on a lot of these issues. And I like to say that the modern-day Democratic Party would be totally unrecognizable to John F. Kennedy if he were alive, and it would be hardly recognizable to Bill Clinton. And you're seeing that with all these protesters that routinely interrupt and protest his events.
All right, Colin Reed, thank you so much for joining us and this great editorial you have in today's paper. You've worked obviously really closely with Scott Brown during the 2012. You saw the whole Native American thing unfold. What is your thought in terms of Donald Trump? Mentioning like Pocahontas with Maureen Dowd. It's such an interesting story to me because so many, of course, Democrats want to put this in the birther category. On the other hand, all I can think of when Democrats, and of course I have to say I was the one who broke the story, so I'm maybe have some skin in the game here, but I think to myself when Democrats sort of take issue with this as though this is somehow a ridiculous story, I'm just thinking to myself, if any other politician ever checked off that they were a Native American on any sort of newsletter that went to potential hiring processes, they would be incensed, especially if that person couldn't prove that they were Native American. So I don't quite understand, but I'll put that aside. What do you think about Donald bringing this up and continuing with sort of this Native American thread?
Well, you broke that story, Hillary, as I recall, in late April of 2012, and the issue burned bright throughout the summer and well into the fall. And when you run into a statewide campaign versus a national campaign, what's old is new again. And old scandals become new scandals once again, and if Elizabeth Warren were to be part of this ticket, this entire thing would be re-examined and reinvestigated, and the questions that remain unanswered, which you just talked about, they'd have to be addressed under a new light, a light that would be brighter, because it would be the entire National Press Corps zeroing on it, in on it. So I do think it's a problem. I think the questions that never got answered in 2012 would have to come up again in 2016 if she were to be part of it.
All right, let me just ask you one other question when it comes to Bill Clinton and the story that was on the cover of the New York Post recently. Bubba steered charity money to friend bombshell. This is interesting. I'm sure
Energizer.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen the story, and I just want to get your take on the fact that the New York Times has spent so much time and energy reaching out to women that have had relationships with Donald Trump or have worked for Donald Trump, and whether or not you think that the Times will eventually dig up some dirt on Clinton, or is that just am I dreaming? Am I thinking I'm on another planet or something?
Well, on the whole, the Clinton Global Initiative, the story you're talking about, there's now an active IRS complaint that American Crossroads filed last night about this blockbuster story. And I think it gets to the bigger, broader point that people are so disgusted with right now, and that's the crony capitalism. It's living at the intersection of money and politics and using your power to align your personal portfolio. And I think it's something that people on both sides of the aisle, regardless of your political views, are really turned off and disgusted by. So that's kind of where we've been focusing on, is this gets to one of Hillary Clinton's biggest weaknesses, is that she's unethical, she's untrustworthy, and it's this kind of stuff and these kind of stories that continue to come out that drive that narrative home. And in politics, narratives take a long time to stick, and once they stick, they don't go away easily. And this idea that Hillary Clinton is dishonest and unethical and untrustworthy, that ain't going away anytime soon, and it's a reason why her disapproval numbers are so high. And as stories like this continue to break, and the fact that the Clinton Global Initiative gave $2 million owned by a company of their cronies, that's just going to reinforce and drive those unfavorable numbers even higher.
All right, Colin Reed, thanks so much for joining us. Course of American Crossroads. We appreciate
America Rising.
Sorry.
That's Ian Pryor.
Oh, yes. Colin.
Your other buddy. Thank you so much, Colin.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, well, we'll be joined by Boston City Councilor Tito Jackson in just a few minutes. We'll be talking with him about the